I think it's important to remind everyone whenever given the opportunity that Trump is quite literally the stupidest person to ever disgrace the Oval Office in this country. Yes, he's a 34-time convicted felon. Yes, he's the most corrupt president of all time, and it's not even close. Yes, he's at the epicenter of not only the Epstein cover-up, but he's also one of the principal perpetrators, but he's also demented and dumb. So here's Trump stroking out in front of a group of coal miners and lobbyists and CEOs. Here, take a look.
But you've never had a better friend in the Oval Office than me, and I'm proud to officially name the undisputed, when did this come out, Mr. Speaker? The undisputed champion of beautiful, clean coal. We have to proceed. Always, I don't use the word coal. It needs a PR job because it had a bad reputation for a while. So we're not allowed to say the word coal anymore. It has to be preceded by beautiful, clean coal.
Okay. So, like I said, his brain very clearly just malfunctions right in front of everybody. And there's no such thing as clean coal, okay? I was a geology major in college. Whenever you burn it, obviously you burn fossil fuels, it puts out a bunch of pollutants. But the mining itself is so unbelievably destructive. Whether you're talking about like the coal dust in the air, whenever they do mountaintop removal, it's awful for the environment. There's tons of like runoff and things like that. But also, once you take the coal out of the area, literally nothing in that area grows for like at least 50 to 70 years because there's like all kinds of other chemicals that occur alongside of coal, like sulfur. And so the ground is so acidic that everything dies and nothing grows. So I actually have a book here that I pulled off the shelf earlier because this reminded me of it. It's by Chris Hedges and Joe Sacco. It's called Days of Destruction, Days of Revolt. And in this book, they actually go to a bunch of these places, which they dub sacrifice zones. And one of them is a coal mining town in West Virginia. And what they talk about is that the cancer rate there is through the roof. Every kid in all of the schools has inhalers because they're all having breathing issues. Everybody in the town is very poor. And so, like, there's literally no such thing as clean coal. And the people who live there are at the mercy of these giant coal companies that they don't care at all about the people that live there that are literally dying of cancer and emphysema and all of these lung issues that they're getting because of the coal operation. But he did not stop there because he had to go on and make more of an ass out of himself to talk about how, like other forms of energy don't work all the time.
I signed a historic executive order to ensure that America's beautiful, clean coal plants would keep running when we need it most, and that's 24 hours a day in rain, sleet, and snow. Coal can operate when other substances can't. The Biden administration, he had no clue what he was doing. Shut down dozens of coal plants. They shut them down. Literally, it seemed like one a week, one a day. They were shutting them down left and right as fast as you could. They were paying people to shut down a coal plant. And if we had stayed on the ruinous path, we would have seen mass suffering and rolling blackouts all over the country. We would have had blackouts right now all over the country. We would have had a country that, worse than blackouts, every other thing would have been wrong with it, too, with all of the horrible things that took place at our border.
Okay, so again, Trump just proving he literally has no idea what he's talking about. Coal plants, as long as you're burning coal, they'll run 24 hours a day. So does nuclear. So does hydroelectric. Obviously, he's trying to bash things like wind and solar because he's an idiot. But the reason that coal-fired power plants were being shut down and still are is because they're, in some cases, these plants are like over 100 years old. And in order to upfit them, to make them so that they're more efficient, obviously he doesn't care about like being in compliance with, modern day environmental standards, but it costs more money to try and keep them open than it would to just shut them down. So that's why coal-fired power plants are being decommissioned throughout the country, is because it's more expensive to keep them running. So you'd think, some brilliant businessman, fiscal conservative, would understand that, if you're going to continue running a coal plant, that it not be like losing money, literally. But he doesn't get that because he wants to suck off the coal industry and the fossil fuel industry. And as far as rolling blackouts go, this is not going to be because they're shutting down coal plants. This is literally due to the energy demand just in general is going through the roof, and they're not doing anything to meet the moment. Now, I've probably mentioned this before. I sell solar for a living, okay? And I can tell anybody that we're not going to meet the energy demand by just putting up more solar everywhere. It's got to be multiple things. We have to do more renewable energy, obviously, but the demand for AI especially is going absolutely insane. Like, AI right now accounts for about 5% of the total energy consumption in the United States, and they expect that to double before the end of the decade. And it's just astronomical what's going to happen to energy prices. So they need to build out more nuclear plants. They need to invest more in energy in general. But let's just say that, you don't believe in the whole climate thing, and you think it's all bogus. It's really arcane to dig up stuff out of the ground and light it on fire to cool off our houses. We have the technology to do it way better, way cleaner, and have a higher energy output, especially through things like nuclear. This is like arguing for horse and buggies at the time when cars were coming about. One of the reasons that the car took off was because it was a much cleaner way of getting around back then, because with horse and buggies, you had literally just piles of horse shit and piss all over the streets, and it was causing health hazards. So in the same way that all of the pollution from coal and any other kind of fossil fuel that occurs, we have better ways to create the energy. So it literally does not make any sense besides just desperately trying to prop up a dying industry. Just because we have a ton of fossil fuels doesn't mean that we need to burn them, because we have better, more efficient ways of creating the energy. And I just want to end on this note. Obviously, trying to fight for an industry that is on its way out is silly in and of itself, but that's what the Republicans do. But how is Trump not embarrassed for this? I mean, like, he has now a decorated history of accepting trophies and prizes for things that he doesn't deserve. Like, he accepted somebody else's Nobel Peace Prize. He accepted some prize from FIFA. Like, this is just ridiculous. He's almost 80 years old, and he's bragging about getting trophies. How is he not embarrassed? How is MAGA not embarrassed? Anyway, as depressing as it is to watch the president of the United States shill for a dying industry that not only pollutes the planet, but also ends up giving people cancer and, emphysema and all kinds of things, it is entertaining, at least, to watch him stroke out in front of the camera. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you like this kind of content, make sure you check out some of the other videos on the channel. Hit the bell icon as well. That way YouTube will notify you whenever I upload another video. And make sure you hit the like button, because that tells the algorithm to spread this around to other people. Hope everybody's having a great Sunday, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.